Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. I'm Dean Gemmel, and this edition is an interview recorded back on April 25th, but not posted until now because of all the men's Manitoba madness. The skip of the winning team at the 2008 Tylenol Women's Players Championship, Amber Holland, welcome to The Curling Show.
Thanks, Dean. I'm glad to be here.
Well, Amber, the final wasn't exactly a game for the ages, but it was redeemed, I think, by the play over the last few ends and your great game-winning last rock double. Now, you're known more as a skip who can hit the pin when you need to. Before Krista McCarville's last shot, were you sort of hoping you'd have a draw instead of that hit?
Probably in my mind I was, because I know that, that my draw weight was there, and you kind of have that feel that, this is the shot that, tied up coming home with hammer, that's what you would be playing. But, she made such a great shot, and actually she didn't even give me any options. That was the only option I had, which was maybe a good thing in my mind, too.
Was that the way you planned to hit the double?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, because there was some question about that.
No, yeah, I could only hit it that way. The other way, it gave the potential for the jam on the back one. So,
right.
So, that was the way it was planned, so...
Hey, what about the ice in that final game? I'd heard when I was in St. John's that Sheet C had more swing all weekend, but it seemed to be snapping even more during the final. Was that the case?
I think so, a little bit. I think, too, we were just caught a little bit at times going out farther than probably we had in other games, and just, it seemed like the more ice you took, the more it curled, and, but at the same time, it was maybe a slightly different bit more curl, but nothing that we shouldn't have been able to handle.
It did seem like the last few ends, both teams were sort of onto it a little better.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and playing in a game like that, it's first few ends are always nerve-wracking, especially for players that maybe don't get to play in those games all the time.
Yeah.
You kind of look at a Howard Martin final again and go, okay, well, those guys been there, done that. Our two teams, not that we're new to the game, but you don't get to play in those games maybe as often as other teams. So I think nerves had a lot to do with it, too.
Your team was ranked, I think, 17th coming to this event, or close to that, right?
Yeah, CTRS, we were 17th.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have been in it if a team hadn't decided not to play.
That's right.
You talk about a little bit of nerves. At the outset of the Tylenol Players Championship, what were your expectations?
We knew that we could go in there and qualify. You have 16-team event, 8 teams qualify. Like that was a pretty realistic goal for us. Considering, how we kind of played all of our other Grand Slam events and cash fields. We were always kind of there close at the end or qualifying. So that was kind of our goal going in, and then once we got past the qualifying, we kind of sat down and said, well, where do we go from here? And we knew that if we could put together the games that we did, you could be there in the final.
You like Krista McCarville. You qualified through C and had to beat 2 teams in the championship event, Michelle Englot and Eve Belle-Ile, that had beaten you earlier. Do you think being forced to play more games was better for a less experienced team like yours, so you didn't sort of have to sit around and wait as you might have if you'd qualified in A?
Yeah, I think for us it was a good thing. Also, too, we had the great draw. We played the 3 games on the first day. And a team like Michelle Englot plays 3 games and qualifies, and they don't play for a day and a half, right? And not that the ice was totally different, but it was changing throughout the time. So being able to keep playing on it and getting a feel for the ice, learning the rocks, all that stuff, it was good for us to kind of keep playing.
What about where this event fell on the schedule? You guys actually had a good start in the first Grand Slam of the year, the Trail Appliances Autumn Gold in Calgary, then sort of a mixed run through other ASHAM World Curling Tour events, and then I guess disappointment in the provincial playdowns in Saskatchewan. But a big, long break until the Tylenol Players Championship. Did it almost feel like the start of another season?
It sure did, yeah. I had a couple people ask me, it was a great way to end off the season. I said, end off? Didn't we just start it again? But, it was a long break in between. But you play your year and do what you need to do. Would we have been loved to have won the province, go to the Scotties, get some more events? Yes, that would have been great, but didn't work out that way. So... but we knew going into that event, basically besides Jennifer Jones, who played at the Worlds, most other teams were almost in the same boat as us, except the few that probably played at the Scotties.
So what did your team do over that gap to try to stay fresh?
Yeah, we practice. We
And
practice
you didn't
a
have
lot.
any guarantee that you were in this either, did you?
No, we didn't. We did take a break after our provincial, just a couple weeks just to kind of, step back and, just we had a long year and we needed some time off. But we're a practice team. We practice quite a bit. We're the type of team that, after you lose out of the provincial in January, we're back at the ice practicing our regular time every week, and everybody looks at us and says, what are you practicing for? And we're like, well, why wouldn't we practice? There's ice here, and we need to improve. So we just continued to practice and do the things that we normally do. We played in a league. I played in the mixed playdowns, got some good games there, and then once we did find out that we were in the Players Championship, we tried to get a few exhibition games. We played Michelle Inglot a couple times, and just a couple other teams that we know around here, just to get some more competitive games.
It's an interesting thought, though. I mean, people look at you and say, "Why are you practicing?" Well, elite curling teams really do need to use the whole full season to practice, whether you have events or not, if you're planning to do anything, right?
Yeah, our season, it's lengthening every year, obviously, with events like the Players Championship in April. But really, we don't get the ice that long to train and to practice and do the things that we need to do. So we've always had the mindset that when the ice is in, we're out there. Sure, you might not be spending as much time when it's not your Bonspiel season because you're not going every weekend. But our weekly practice, Wednesday at 5 o'clock, you'll see us at the rink. That's what we do. So, and it gives us, the February, March time, even if you aren't playing in any events, gives you a great opportunity if you're making changes to your delivery, or even just making changes with some sort of team processes. You can do all that. You can do it then. It's perfect.
Yeah, it would be a better time to do it, wouldn't it?
It would be, yeah.
Hey, you have a pre-trial spot now, huge for a team like yours that was sort of on the outside looking in. How will that affect the schedule you play next year?
I'm not really sure right at the moment in time. We had kind of briefly talked about the type of schedule we were going to have next year and being similar to what we did this year with, at least 3 out of the 4 Grand Slams and some of the other favorite events we like to go in. But I think we just have to sit down and figure out, okay, well, what is our plan now, for how we want to approach next year and what our goals are, and we'll take it from there.
While you're more of a name for curling diehards than the casual curling fan, you won a Canadian Junior Women's title in 1992. And since then, you've always been considered one of the better skips in the women's games, but you haven't quite won a championship as important as this one. What sustained your enthusiasm for curling over all those years?
I just love the game. Like I love playing the game. I love trying to be the best and do what you need to do to be at the top of the game. I don't know. It's part of me. I remember way back when in grade 10, 11, my mother asked me, so what do you want to do with your life? And I said, well, I want to curl. And Mom said, well, you can't make a living on
You might
curling.
want other options, Amber.
Pick something else. And I'm like, well, no, I just want to curl. And, obviously I've kind of sort of made a living out of curling just based on my job, as well as, being able to play, but not that makes me any money. But I don't know, I think it's just something that's been inbred in me. My family curled. It's just been kind of the center of our world in our family, and that was instilled in me at a young age. And I just have a passion to be out there and try to improve and try to get better every year.
Are there times you thought it's just the craziest, most cruel game around, though? I mean, I'm sure you've had some near misses. You look at like Shannon Kleibrink, who was maybe half a rock away this year from having an unbelievable season. Sherry Maddob, similar in that respect. And yet we're, at the end of the year, it's like, well, Jennifer Jones had the great years. Does it feel just sometimes like it's just a crazy, cruel game?
It does. It does at times. And I think throughout my career that I've had, you have some, ups and downs and the roller coasters at the end of the year. You do kind of evaluate and go, why am I doing this? I've put all this time in to, maybe to come up short again, or maybe not, have the goals, meet the goals that you've set out. So, but at the same time, I think as you age, you get a bit of perspective of why you're doing what you're doing. And I think for me personally, I can't really speak for the rest of my team, but for me personally, it's a whole lot about, trying, like I said, trying to be the best and trying to improve and trying to just, make yourself excel in the sport. So you got to kind of keep that in perspective, that every year you learn and every year you take something from it to move into the next year.
Hey, finally, you talked about your job. You're the technical director of the Saskatchewan Curling Association. Not all the news about curling in your province has been positive as of late, I guess, but I'm not there. So give me your take on the state of the game in Saskatchewan.
Well, I think we're struggling a little bit with ensuring that we get people out and playing the game, not only obviously at the competitive level, but at the club level too. I think that's the bigger concern, is that we have curling clubs that they're closing based on the fact that their facility can't remain open because it's old and dilapidated, and we have facilities that are closing because they can't afford to pay the power and energy bill because they just don't have enough people coming in the door. That's the area that we really need to focus on. Playdowns will always take care of themselves, whether you have 10 teams entering or 10,000 teams entering. Someone's going to want to compete, but we need to really work on helping our curling clubs be sustainable and get people not necessarily watching curling on TV, but walking through the door and playing the sport.
Do you think there's a larger societal thing at work here, not just in Saskatchewan, but elsewhere, where people, if they're going to curl, maybe it's once a week and they don't want to have to volunteer to do time in the kitchen because they got other things going on, and it almost seems to me that clubs have to shift their way of thinking.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think our curling clubs are very much, they try to do things the way that they've always done it, right? We'll just open up the door and expect people to walk through, and they're going to come and play their 2 nights a week. Yeah, you're right. Lives are changing, and where they shift their priority for their time is changing. And curling clubs need to take a hold of that and say, okay, well, how can we maximize their time and maximize, the benefits of the curling club as well.
Yeah, it's a real challenge. I mean, the aging facilities thing you bring up is a big challenge, I think, for the game, because building new ones is so expensive.
Well, that's right, and we have. We're still pretty good here in Saskatchewan. You look at our numbers. We're only a province of 1 million people. We still have 100 and I'm trying to think of the numbers. 170 clubs that affiliate with our association. So
right. I mean, that's still pretty impressive, isn't it?
It is. It's just that a lot of our communities, smaller communities, don't have the population there. They're maybe going more to the larger centers and. And just those smaller communities, a curling club was built in every single one of them way back when, and for a smaller community to, put a few $1 million into a new facility when they don't necessarily have the population just isn't feasible.
All right, Amber, enough about building the game. We finished with the run back. I give you a topic. You give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words.
Okay.
Mark Shureck's Grand Slam Ice and Rocks.
Great. Awesome.
How do you guys play anything similar? I mean, is it...
Well, we had out in New Glasgow at the Slam, we had the arena ice out there, and it was good. Our provincial's been in arena, but sometimes depending on who the ice maker is and how it works, it's depending on the curl. No, we don't get to play on it that often. No.
All right, the home province of the one women's team you really don't like to lose to.
Oh gosh.
Giving you out. I'm not making you name names. Just a province.
I will say Manitoba.
Nice. So then everybody can speculate.
Yeah, that's right.
Ryan Fry joining Team Gushu.
Interesting. Didn't see it coming.
The comparative lack of team lineup shuffles in the women's game.
Good for the women's game.
Yeah, there's just not much shuffling going on, but maybe that's because it feels a little more open. It feels like maybe more women's teams feel like they have a shot at it.
Yeah, and I agree with that statement, and I think sometimes women might get...
Just the men are from Mars, women are from me, or whatever moment?
Yeah, I think so, but I think sometimes women just, they don't try to make the winning formula right away. They put all the ingredients together, make the recipe. If it doesn't quite work, they'll just rework the ingredients, not just add a whole new one.
Oh, you mean they have patience?
Yeah, sure, we'll go with that.
All right. And finally, another in this vein, I guess, why women do pregame calisthenics and men don't.
Men are lazy.
Nice. It's fascinating to me, but I don't know why that happens. But I'll have to ask the men. Yeah,
well, you're probably going to get some interesting comment about why women would do it. So
there you go.
I could say the same thing about the men.
All right. Hey, Amber, I give everybody a chance to name any sponsors they have. So let me know if anybody helped your team out this year.
Yeah, we had a lot of great support over the last few years. Anasoft, which is a software or hardware retailer for computers, Supreme Basics, Silver Screen Sportswear, Discount Car Rentals, Poulin's Professional Exterminators, don't ask about that one. Just a lot of other great support from some of our smaller sponsors.
All right, Amber. Well, thanks for your time. Congratulations on a big win, and good luck next year. This win certainly sets up next season to be a lot more interesting for you.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's a great opportunity for our team, and good opportunity for curling here in Saskatchewan too, as well, to have another team at the pre-trials.
That's Amber Holland on the Curling Show. As always, thanks for listening.